Hi, y'all. I'm Shizoda, and this is the Shizoda and Friends podcast. I am so excited to tell y'all about this episode. But before I even get into our guest Omar, I'd like to give a huge thank you to Sam for joining me as co-host. If you watched last episode, he asked to be co-host, and I could not refuse. And boy, am I glad I did not, because this was so much fun, and I'm excited to keep doing this not only with Sam but with other friends too. So, this episode we interview Omar. Omar is a mutual friend of ours. He used to go to Brooklyn College, and around second year or so, he dropped out, joined a boot camp, moved to Boston, and started working at Wayfair. So, we talk about that experience. He's also had he's had varying types of schooling. So he's been to a boot camp, he's been to a traditional university, he's been to homeschooling, he's been homeschooled. So we talk about those and the different education systems. He's also been a CTO of a startup, and he has some really good, juicy drama around that. So we hear a little bit about startup life and the accelerator he was a part of, and he drops a lot of really cool resources that helped him. He talks about how he got in the industry, and it was a lot of fun, and I'm excited for y'all to watch this. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Shizoda. I think I already said that, but the podcast and the community around here is basically about people from underrepresented schools or underrepresented education backgrounds who are entering the tech industry and living out their best lives. I've probably said this like a million times so far, but I feel like this is something I wish I had when I was starting, and I just didn't see enough successful people from my alma mater, and it made me feel like it was impossible. And no matter what school you go to or what your background is, you can make it in the tech industry. And if that sounds like a community you want to be part of, join our Discord server, join the mailing list, subscribe, and if you watch the whole thing or even a part of the thing, I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to hear more of. And you can do that in my email inbox or the comment section. But enjoy. Sam, Omar, it is so good to have you all today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you, Sam?
So am I. I'm doing amazing. Just a little tired, but other than that, great.
Sam, congratulations on being the most recent co-host of Shizoda and Friends podcast. How does it feel?
I feel honored and excited to see where this goes. And having my boy Omar as the first guest, it's certainly nice.
You two are friends, is that correct?
Yeah, been friends for a long time now, right, Omar?
Yeah, we've met back in Brooklyn College. I actually don't remember how we met. Sam probably knows that, but yeah, we've been friends for a long time.
I think the way I remember is that you would always leave class too early. Like you're just done with it. And from then on, I was like, damn, this guy knows a lot. Like he does not concern himself with any of the lecture and still aces everything. Who is this guy?
What class was
It
it?
was, I think Paradigm,
Programming
programming paradigm.
paradigms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
To me, it was one of the hardest class. But go ahead, Omar.
Yeah.
Tell me how you aced it.
I mean, it was, to be honest, the real reason I would leave is because I watch YouTube videos at 2.0 speed. So sitting through a lecture where, the person is talking at human level speed is just the contrast between that. Yeah, it's why can't I, make this run in 2.5?
Do you remember how you did in the class?
I think I got an A, but it's also because YouTube has so much, material on anything you could need. I used to watch My Code School. I used to watch all of their videos in 2x speed, and I'd watch it, a couple of times, and then by that point, I would pretty much know, what the concept was about. So
Man, all that potential, and you just dropped out.
I mean, that's because he dropped out, because he knew that school wasn't serving him. He just knew that he had to get on the fast lane. Is that right?
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons, to be honest. I remember thinking that, well, I could either transfer to Stony Brook, I could transfer to, like, get some kind of scholarship or something, and go to an Ivy League, or I should do a boot camp. And I went with the boot camp option because I was like, if I transfer, then you have to transfer all the credits over, and then you have to spend another 2 or 3 years. And I don't know if I wanna, like, I think I was 20 at the time. I don't know if I want to spend another 2 3 years, or another 4 years, trying to get my degree. So
Get that.
I mean, Brooklyn College is great and all, but Brooklyn College, I feel like, really excels in liberal arts, in the humanities, right? Like, I had some really cool philosophy, arts, literature professors, but, not so much, I would say, in the sciences. Yeah.
I think that's fair, and that's kind of heartbreaking because computer science is like the second largest major, if not the first largest. I think the second, and then the first was psychology, and then the third is like chemistry. So even though the top five largest majors are like STEM and science, they are kind of known for their liberal arts education and maybe even psychology program. I think, just definitely not computer science. Fortunately, the department's not well funded, I think.
Yeah, and like that well funding kind of shows when you take the classes and go through stuff. Like, I mean, maybe this experience is similar to other colleges, but when I took the second computer science class that you have to take, first is like introduction part one, and the second is introduction part two. And I remember in introduction part two, the class was like full. Everyone signed up for it. There were enough seats in the class, and midway through the semester, half of the students had dropped out. And the reason they dropped out is because, uh, you know, David and some of the other the two professors had this website where it was their own company or something. And basically you kind of had to type code over there like you would write code on a paper, right? Like, no help whatsoever, no idea why you're getting errors, no highlighting whatsoever. And so for someone who's just trying to get into computer science, that's just like, well, this is just not for me. That's what they will come out with.
I can agree with that. Are you talking about the code lab?
Code lab, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pain and a half. Like, I could not for the life of it figure out why it was throwing error. It turns out if you put it in like a code editor, it'll like highlight the error that's something as simple as like like semicolon, but it doesn't tell you that in that module or whatnot.
Yeah.
It was especially hard as a beginner.
Yeah. I mean, I get it if you're like, doing that, to replicate sort of what it's like to write code on a piece of paper. But then, you do that for someone who has experience with coding, right? Not for someone who's trying to check out this field and see if that's for them.
Yeah, I know for my first computer science course, I was learning in like those really nice IDEs. Like I didn't do pen to paper. For me, it was actually Python. What about you guys? How did you guys get into coding, and what were your first languages?
So, Python gang, right? Like, that was, yeah.
Hey.
I'm gonna flex a little bit here. Y'all are
Oh.
softies. I started
Oh.
with C++, but then I moved to Java.
Oh. Just
Yeah.
from the curriculum?
Uh, yeah, so I started off in John Jay, right? And they had a C++ track, but when I moved to Brooklyn College, they, I think, discontinued the C++ track, and I was just onboarded into Java, so I had to start over.
Whoa. Wait, so your first
Yeah,
time coding was actually in the classroom in C++? plus plus?
yeah, that's correct.
Wow, you just take life by the
Yeah,
yeah, that's
by
how
the
So
started that.
also, when Sam said you guys are softies, I was 100% expecting him to say COBOL, Fortran, or Lisp or something like that.
Man just
I
coded
did.
machine code, the ones and zeros.
I only had one, like, I had a keyboard that just had a 0 and a 1 key, and I would write in binary.
That's funny. Oh, what about you? Oh, so you did Python. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
you did Python. You told me about that course once before.
Yep. Introduction to Interactive Programming in Python, Part 1 and Part 2.
Oh.
Short for IPP. IIPP. Yes.
Also known as IIPP.
It's a funny
Yeah.
name.
And this was on Coursera, correct?
Yeah, this was on Coursera. It was taught by some professors at Rice University. So after taking these courses, I wanted to go to Rice because I did some research and it's really good Ivy League. But I did a boot camp instead. Uh, the course, gave you a really good introduction to Python. I don't actually recommend it now to people because, like my classes in Brooklyn College, it kind of taught me computer science a little bit the hard way. Like I think it can be really good if you can have someone else who can like show you something, or you do it in some kind of communal way, or maybe start with the online website where you write code. They have an editor on the side. Not sure exactly
Code
what it's
Code
Academy.
called.
Academy?
It's like small
Yeah, I think
incremental steps. They have a little discussion channel on the side.
yep. I think it's exactly Code Academy. I think Code Academy is probably
Yeah.
Go ahead.
the best possible start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because while doing that course, it was like if I got stuck, I didn't really know what to do next. So I would just try different things until I get so frustrated that I didn't really know what was going on. I just keep on trying, and so that kind of like was my initial experience with programming.
Yeah, Code Academy is very beginner friendly. Like if you already know coding and you're trying to learn a new one, it's like very slow because they'll explain what a for loop is for like 4 chapters. But if it's your first time, it's really nice. Um, and when I was doing Code Academy for Python, and you'd be stuck, there would be no way to like find your solution. You just have to keep searching. But now they have unlimited number of unlimited.
Shazada, what'd you do?
Oh, it's probably gonna be edited out, but we're laughing because there's like a really loud siren. I think in Sam's background.
Yeah.
But yeah, now there's like unlimited number of times you can just like press C solution and it'll show you. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Double-edged sword because if you keep pressing C solution, you're never really gonna learn those debugging skills. But if it's your first time, it's okay. Like you can focus on syntax and the concepts.
Yeah, I think they should have Code Academy as a prerequisite for your first programming class at like Brooklyn College and other colleges.
Before starting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys learned it in these courses, but what made you want to take these courses?
By the time I got to college, I pretty much knew almost 100% that I'm gonna go into computer science, and
Wow.
I'm gonna get my degree here. And I also I actually really believed in it at that time that I'm gonna find a company by the time I'm 25.
Oh, like start a company. That kind of worked out.
Yeah, it kind of worked out. It's 2 in 1. But with finding a company, I was thinking a little bit bigger, like making it survive like the first 3 years, because that's probably one of the biggest challenges of startups. Like I don't know what the percentages are, but most of them cannot make it through the first 3 years. So
Yeah. Wait, so why were you 100% sure that you would do tech entering college?
So I used to I had a sort of pragmatic approach to what I wanted to do with my life given those circumstances, and tech was a really appealing idea in terms of both the job prospects, the level of study that you need, and on top of that, the working with complex kind of abstractions that you have in tech was also appealing to me. So like all of those things combined
Really?
just made tech.
You did all that research beforehand, but like going into college?
I think I did that research over the period of when I was 15 to when I was 19. So I did it over 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive because all I knew was just, computer. It's cool. I want to do computer science. That's all I knew. I didn't really go in with that much information.
Yeah. Computer good.
Yeah, it's cool. I play video games, so it just might be my thing.
There's two types of people. The ones who are planning out their life at 12 and then computer good.
Yeah.
I was probably somewhere in the middle. I like pragmatically thought about different options and then I tried it, like medicine, law, like all these other stuff, teaching, and then eventually like tried computer science and really liked it. You've mentioned your startup. Tell us your story. How'd you find it? How long did it stay? What happened?
Yeah, so I remember, my friend Estefania bringing me into a cafeteria, and midway through the conversation, she's like, "We could really need you, for the startup." And I was like, "Okay, well, startup opportunity. I'm not gonna say no to that, especially as you're just trying to figure it out." And so, I went on and I tried to do my best. I was working way too hard at the time because, to me, I had, uh, in my teens, I would read books, Steve Jobs books, and how passionate he was and how hard he had to work, and stories of Elon Musk, sleeping in the office, waking up in the office, working like 16 hours every day. And so that's like that's the kind of mentality that I took with it. And so yeah, I did work really hard. And then I think the first wake up call was we had a mentor come in and talk to us about how we can build our app, and this person had like years of industry experience. So we're building an iOS app, and I had no prior experience with iOS whatsoever. So I remember talking to him, and he's throwing all of these terms around, local storage, Swift has this, you could do some parallelization or whatever. And I'm just looking at him, like a little kid, like, uh-huh, because I had no idea what he was talking about. And then after that, I was like, wow, you really need to know all of this stuff. And then, yeah, so I mean, after that, it was like a lot of trial and error, building a prototype, building the first, sort of the alpha stages of the app, and then, like getting it through beta stages, and, trying to have some kind of minimum viable product. And the fact that, we were able to do that in a period of 3 months with no prior experience with iOS, just learning it on the spot, as you go, was, I think, really an experience I'm really proud of.
Wait, so how long did the startup last, and what was your startup? You didn't mention any of that.
Yeah, so the startup lasted 3 months, and the startup was about helping students in colleges walk safely from point A to point B. Now, this
Hmm.
sounds like, well, who needs that, right? But
I,
the
I
fact is,
I I can think of why one would need it.
really, well, I mean, at Brooklyn College, at least, I don't know if there's a lot of people that would be interested in something like that.
Literally any female, any woman will use that, and anyone disabled I can see might need it, or even any like minorities.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, that what you're describing in Brooklyn College, it was probably 10 times worse. At least for the Midwestern colleges that we were talking to, they had a
Mm.
big, nasty, just assault, kind of problem over there. And so, you needed people, like people, students wanted to be, they didn't feel safe traveling alone by themselves. So initially, we kind of geared it towards those colleges. Those were supposed to be our early customers. And so we're gonna kind of, go from there. And yeah, so that was the essential purpose of the app.
Sam, what is going on your end? So one cop car
I'm
after
just taking it
another.
in. You guys are.
um, wait. So the Midwest had more, um, I don't know, like assault and battery than the city.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. Yeah, well, I don't want to. No, it wasn't like a serious assault, like criminal level assault. It was like minor kind of aggressions and stuff that made people feel unsafe. And I also don't want to like paint the whole Midwest as like this monolith where all of this stuff is happening. But it was like a couple of universities that we talked to where they had this serious problem. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys did like user research too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we did, research and talking to students across the Brooklyn College campus, see what they think about it,
And the
you know,
Midwest.
and the bit.
All of the
Yes.
Midwest.
How many colleges did you actually talk to,
We
Omar?
talked to, somewhere between 6 and 9 colleges. The reason I don't know the exact number is because I was on the CTO on the technology side, not as much involved with, doing all the marketing research and, figuring those details out.
Was it just was it just you, or how many other developers were in the team?
So I was the main person working on it. We also had so we had three interns. One of them was a technology intern, and the other two were marketing and other stuff. But as for like the technology intern, unfortunately, he also had no experience with making iOS apps as well. So it was, for me, it was us figuring it out myself and also teaching him. But then, somewhere midway, I kind of felt like that it's probably better to spend all of my energy in making the app instead of, like, helping our intern out. So our intern was just kind of chilling there, and but he was getting paid, so
Okay, nice. That's awesome.
yeah, there was also some internal drama where one of the persons sued. I mean, threatened to sue, like, the other people for letting them go, and then you had to
Oh.
pay like a big fee to that. And so I was like, well, what if something like this happens when I decide to make a startup again?
Oh man, I've never been sued. Omar, you've lived so many lives already.
Yeah, what a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what I've lived can be compressed in like about a span of 5 months, and then everything else is like flat desert.
Looks like a lot happened in 3 months. And this was part of a program, right? Maybe CUNY Accelerator? Is that it?
Yeah, so it was part of the Zon accelerator, and like,
Nice.
accelerators are really good. I mean, especially this one, because they
Mm-hmm.
give us access to so many different resources. Some of them maybe not as welcomed as others, and what I mean by that is some of the people trying to like mentor us were really obnoxious. So
Oh my god.
yeah. Okay, so all right, well, I'm not even exaggerating, because let me tell you a story that will perfectly depict this person. So what this person did is, first day he comes into the meeting, we're all, so we were all of the different teams that were developing their own products and etc., because it's an accelerator. All of these startups are sort of working in the same space. He comes in first thing in the room. He points at someone. He's like, "You're fired. We're kicking you out." And he was dead serious. And they kicked him out. And they kicked him out because what do you call it? His team member was about 2 or 3 minutes late.
Was he late? Was he himself
Yeah.
late, or it was just to show, like, prove a point?
He himself was late. He just wanted to
Ah,
be that Hollywood, kind of uh, CEO personality or whatever. He desperately, acted like that kind of guy with his shades. He would wear shades inside, and he would just act kind of douchey around everyone. So
sounds like a character. I mean,
so
cry for attention, but
yeah,
yeah.
Sounds like a real drummer.
yeah. So I mean, that was not as welcomed. I feel like we could have probably done better without him. Yeah.
I wonder why no one spoke up about it. Like, why did
I
you guys not
Okay, so
say
this is
anything?
a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I think what happened is they didn't have enough funding, and they actually had planned to let one of the teams go. And so the way they did it is they're like, "Hey, you have to do this." And he's like, "Yeah, no problem." And he comes in and does it in the most obnoxious way possible.
Okay, I mean, that just sounds like a really funny rumor. I don't know. Hopefully they're more responsible than that and the organization is, well structured and well funded. I doubt they take on more teams than they can actually I mean support. That's a pretty strong
Yeah.
accusation, Omar. And
Well, I mean, that's why I said this is a bit of a conspiracy theory,
yeah,
because I don't,
be a little more
you know,
careful before saying that on the internet, you know? which is where this is going, Omar. As
Yeah.
your friend, I'd like to suggest that
Yeah. Well,
this
I
is
mean,
going on YouTube, tied to
conspiracy
your
theory. That's what I prefaced
name.
it by. So I don't know the facts. I'm like Alex Jones over here a little bit with this, but you know, I'm putting it out there.
I don't support this theory, and I don't support putting conspiracy theories onto the internet that we don't have facts on. Um,
Coming back to, school, you you switched gear, right? From school to boot camp. How was it like?
Yeah. So this also I have talked about this before too. Shizoda is a big part to play in that. I remember talking to her about school versus boot camp, and I remember saying I don't know because I didn't know anything about boot camps at the time, right? So I was very critical of it. I don't know like how that would work. And then the more I looked into boot camps, the more I realized that this is an actual legitimate business model. This is not some kind of scam or something. Because the funny thing is, my my older brother went through something like that. There was so these boot camps, they have like there are some that are for QA, for quality assurance, and some of them that are not reputable at all, that you hear from a friend of a friend.
mhm.
And so that's how my brother heard of it, and he got scammed. So
Wait, I think I
that's
know this
why.
is the program you're talking about. It's horrible. Oh, was it Ravature?
I'm not sure. There is a couple of these that all over the place, and they are just like really small offices, and
Yeah.
the whole thing is really bad. And another thing that they do is, and this is actually public information. I'm not revealing anything, is that they lie on your resume with like 5 to 10 years of experience, right after you're done with the program.
I'm pretty
So
sure that's
yeah.
illegal. They do background checks before you accept the offer for anyone who's thinking about doing that.
The funny thing is, I actually came across Ravature once, and they tried to get me into their program, and
Wait, did you? There's like a video on it on YouTube of people like actually digging through it and trying to call. Was it Ravature? I don't want to say Ravature if it's not them.
I don't know.
Okay, well maybe it's not Ravature. I apologize if I'm. I'll edit it over and I'll fix it. I'll let you guys know what the
Yeah.
scammy.
I, to be honest, I don't think it matters that much.
Oh,
Let's
I
just
mean,
say it
there's
was
just
Ravature.
no,
No.
no. That's someone's
Tomorrow you get a
organization. Well, you don't want to
tomorrow you get a
like.
call from Raviture's legal department.
I mean,
We got a good thing going, Shizoda. Let's not shut ourselves down
yeah,
by
no, I don't
defacing
know
businesses.
if. Maybe I'll just bleep over it. Now you guys are making me nervous. Um, yeah, there's definitely some scammy boot camps, and I remember the way this conversation happened, and the reason Omar dropped out and I did it was after my after I interned with a company called Teachers Pay Teachers. This was the second company I was with. I just learned so much within those 3 months, and the work culture was amazing, and I was getting paid, which was amazing, like so I was learning a lot, and I was getting paid, and I was like, what's the point of school? And I was really considering dropping out, and I talked to as many people as I can, because I was like, this is a huge decision. This might be a horrible decision. I need people to convince me to not drop out. And Omar was one of those, and I was talking to him, and next thing you know, Omar drops out, and and I ended up staying. Because Omar was trying to convince me, like, no, boot camp is a horrible idea, dropping out is a horrible idea, but it went the other way, and I think I ended up convincing him to drop out.
Yeah, yeah. I think I absorbed some of your sort of points that you were making, and like thought about those. But yeah, I definitely didn't know anything about boot camps at the time, and I didn't have a positive experience. Another reason that I wanted that I went with the dropout option is because for a long time being homeschooled, as I was,
Oh, you were homeschooled.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I kind of got the sense that like schools hamper your creativity, somewhat, and schools sort of like exceptional intelligence is not made in schools, right? So I would read about people like Einstein, people like Steve Jobs, people like, who've like done exceptional things in their lives. And so that's why when I even went to college, I had that kind of inner bias towards like, the sort of programs, the sort of like, stuff that you'd had to participate in, and the way that you approached education in schools. I don't know if I was a big fan of it even at that time too. So.
What do you think like school does that like hinders your creativity?
Yeah, so I used to think about this a lot. At the top of my mind, I don't have anything in particular, but
Hmm.
I feel like the aspect of like okay, let's say for instance you take like math classes, right? Or
Right.
you take calculus, and so your goal in taking calculus is to pass that class. You're gonna do a lot of students in Brooklyn College, at least I saw that they would do the bare minimum to be able to pass that class as well as possible, and that just requires sort of you don't really need to understand calculus to pass that class. I still don't understand calculus 2, and I have an A plus in calculus 2. So that's kind of like if you are actually going to try to understand something, then it felt like something that was different than what was being rewarded in schools. So
I kind of agree with that. I was one of those people that just wanted to pass and get it over with. Because I feel like every like topic in calculus was the professor was going too fast because we didn't have enough time to really dig deep. So I just memorized all the steps for each of those like problems and kind of got it over with.
Yeah. The interesting thing about calculus is there's so many ways about it. And I don't know. For instance, I studied computational math, so a lot of my major courses were calculus. Calculus 1, which is just derivatives, essentially, in the definition of derivatives. And it's calculus 2, which is anti-derivatives and just how to integrate in the different processes and the meaning of integration. And then after that, you have stuff like differential equations, which is solving equations with different levels of derivations. And I don't think calculus clicked until I saw it in context, and I had to look at it in different ways. Um, and I only really started understanding calculus when I had to teach others. Because I was a calculus tutor too. So yeah, I don't know if school is the best way to learn. I love school though. Like I would love to go back to school. But yeah, I don't know if college is the best way to learn or like the traditional education system.
yeah, it's the college kind of needs to, like, it needs you to pass those classes, and like it needs to have those little things that what do you call it,
Yeah, the
are a test of your
assessments.
progress as you're going along. And so it needs to sort of function as the institution that it is, right? Which it is also playing a larger part in the economy, in the whole system of America, creating people who can hold jobs and stuff, and that in turn affects the economy. So it's like it's part of this whole
Yeah,
machine, right? And you can't just
Right.
yeah.
Like you're on a conveyor belt just going
Yeah.
from like different stages.
yeah. I love that in the tech field now, we don't actually need degrees. And there's different modes of entering. Like I know some people who just skipped the whole college thing and just went straight from high school to a company. I don't know if I want to name drop companies, but and like there's people like you who did boot camps, and there's people like you who skipped college and boot camps and college and companies and just straight up did startups. And I think that's such a beautiful thing about our little
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at Wayfair, I see like a surprising amount of diversity in the people that are in tech, and it's like it's hard for me to say what elements they bring from their background, but you can sort of notice it in like the how their approach is with programming, the way they think about stuff, and you get like a lot of different perspectives from a lot of different people.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you've done so many different types of education. Now that I think about it, homeschool, traditional college, boot camp, and yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I would say my well, not ideal, but my favorite of all of those is definitely the boot camp. And I feel like if you can have like a boot camp kind of environment, a little competitive, healthy competitive, what do you call it, intense, and also very collaborative. I feel like you learn things very quickly in that kind of environment. Yeah,
Agree. Yeah.
yeah, I think those three things, are can really, put your education on steroids.
Oh,
Well, at least people are different. At least, like, for me, that's, yeah, that's a big,
yeah,
yeah,
I
difference
think
in
I
two.
do well under pressure too, and that's part of the reason I want to continue my education in school eventually. Like those deadlines, those tasks, just like having a cohort of students, struggling with you. I think I would love to go back to school, and I've thought about doing boot camp too, but not like you did App Academy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I want to do App Academy. What I was thinking of doing is those like hacker schools where it's less structured and you just get along with people and it's a lot less structured, it's a lot less pressured, and it's all about kind of like falling in love with computer science all over again.
Wow. Is it like one of those craft schools?
I don't know what a craft school is, but
Yeah.
maybe.
Me neither.
Yeah.
What is a craft school?
Well, I don't know if what kind of institution it is, but I remember applying to one of those craft schools, and they had this whole description about how they take the art of coding and programming very seriously, and how they have this whole approach, and so it kind of sounded similar to what you were saying. You can just like fell in love with computer science, just yeah.
Yeah. Well, the program I was specifically thinking of is called Recurse School or Recurse School maybe. It's spelled Recurse. And they have different talks there, and I believe it is free, but they also provide scholarships for people who need funding, like you know, to like not work and just be at the boot camp. And there's different levels. I think it goes from 2 weeks to 3 months. And I think if I ever get burned out, I'll probably just go to that boot camp.
Would you recommend that to broken college students?
I think it's good to get as much experience as possible, and like Recurse Center could be a great thing to do during the summer. Just to if you don't have an internship. And I think people should also like consider boot camps and hackathons and internships and doing your own startups. Like the more coding experience you get, the better. And I don't know if you guys agree, but I find that there's so much parallel and overlap between coding concepts. Like something I learned in one field will help me in a completely different context. At the very least, with just analogies and I don't know, just paradigms and thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. There are patterns in things, even in very different fields. Yeah, I've seen that. Uh,
Compu- Computer science is a lot about abstractions as well, right? So it's like, you know, those abstracted structures, have like parity in the different kinds of concepts that you're trying to learn.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, So, Wayfair, what do you exactly do? I feel like we're long overdue for this question. You've been working at Wayfair for what, about a year and some change?
Yeah, so at this point, it's been approximately 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
closer to 1 year and 9 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on the options and images team, and we're responsible for showing images on time on the website, for coding A to B tests, for sorting, filtering all kinds of imagery logic, and similar case for options as well. All kinds of options logic. One of the interesting things that I learned at Wayfair is, when you go on a website and you have a couch and you have like different options for a couch, large, small, red, blue, green, yada yada. Those are all like actual products in the real world. Like those are not options for a couch, right? And so they kind of need to be programmed in such a way that it doesn't mess with that real world situation. And how sort of the people who have to deliver the products, or how their whole software is configured, because they're actually dealing with actual products. And this is just an abstraction layer on sort of like what do you see on the website, right? So that was actually a pretty cool thing to say.
Do you have any
Uh,
questions, Sam? I feel like I've been asking a lot, and I want to give you.
Yeah. No, you just continue. I'll ask more questions. Right.
I I like I'm pausing every once in a while, but I feel like it feels like awkward pause instead of a pause for Sam to ask a question.
Yeah. Are we gonna cut this out? I feel like we are.
No,
Okay.
we're breaking the fourth wall again.
Oh man.
um, okay, well, if you don't have a question, I was gonna ask. You keep talking about choosing different colors for options. For instance, like a sofa with different colors. Are you guys just changing the image or doing some image manipulation and you know
yeah.
um, changing the color that way?
Yeah. So, I can imagine that if Wayfair was built using microservices, the whole architecture would look totally different. But because, Wayfair is like, in this huge code base that's kind of shared across different teams, etc. So, what happens is like you have a lot of dependent logic, right? So, when you're loading a product on site, all the images are sort of associated with the options, and then only a certain kind of image would show up for a certain kind of option. Even also, there is some work, some testing happening around even the very name of the product is dependent on some of these other aspects. And like, the experience is kind of like, very what do you call it, interconnected, right? So yeah.
Hmm.
So do you guys just do you guys put a different image for the colors, or do you guys manipulate the image of the sofa
Yeah, I
for
don't
different colors?
I don't think you
we
answered that.
yeah, so I wasn't exactly sure what the question was, but if we have like tons of images, for different variations, right? Like if it's a red sofa,
Yeah.
you'll have red sofa images. So we'll just bring those up.
Okay, so you just switch the images. I was asking if you guys like image recognition and then change the color of the sofa that they recognize inside the photo.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that might happen in the future. That's
Not right now. Okay.
Not right now.
Yeah.
yeah, but not right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like over engineering a little bit instead of
Yeah.
just uploading a new photo. Less room for error that way.
So these data, like all these entries are manually
Yeah.
uploaded and like entered into the database. By is it like by the engineers or the vendors or whatnot?
Yeah, so it's it's also that's also a complex process, and that's part of the Wayfair's like business to business department. Um,
Hmm.
suppliers, a lot of suppliers actually have a lot of really good pictures taken of their products, and
Hmm.
so when they wanna put their product on Wayfair's website, they have their own tool, and that they can input all of the different stuff about the product. They can upload their images, then it gets verified, and then it shows up on site. That's one way. There's other ways to work with Wayfair, and Wayfair will take their own pictures in their own studios, etc. So there's like a couple of different ways you can go about that process.
And most of the architecture is on Google Cloud, you said? Or you didn't say?
Yeah, so I mean, Wayfair used to have a lot of like on-premises data centers, what Wayfair had a huge push towards, kind of selling those off and buying GCP.
Wait, what was your question? Oh, right. I think you're saying that they're
Yes.
going towards cloud computing.
Yeah, so they're moving a lot of their stuff onto GCP, which is a huge product in and of itself. And I remember our CTO talking about how this was such a crucial step in moving towards GCP, because if that hadn't happened, we don't know if we would have handled the influx of traffic that during the pandemic. Well,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
so sorry. I was laughing, by the way. I just can't help but laugh about how loud the sirens on Sam's microphone are.
Full disclosure, I don't think it'll get picked up by my microphone, but you guys are hearing that
Yeah,
because
I'm
of the
gonna I'm
call.
gonna
Yeah.
mute it anyway, so they won't be
Okay.
hearing it. Um,
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, okay. One of my favorite things to ask on the
Uh,
podcast
y'all
is
are totally stuck for me.
stuck. Oh, you can't hear me?
No, I
Okay,
can hear you.
now I can hear you. So
No.
your screen kind of,
Yeah, it's when we
yeah,
switch screens, like to look at questions or anything else on another page. It just turns off the
gotcha.
camera.
So it also turns off the voice as well.
Oh,
I don't
that's
think so.
yeah.
That's not true.
That sounds
That's
funny.
not true.
Sounds
So I
fudgy.
saw a triangle, the yield sign, a couple of times.
Oh, maybe it's to
Yeah,
your internet connection. Okay, we'll just not change screens just to be safe.
it
One
might be my internet for sure. Yeah.
yeah, one thing I was gonna ask is I feel like job search process is probably the hardest part, you know, like once you get the job and you're in the industry. I don't think I think it's a lot easier than actually trying to enter the industry. So tell us about what the job search process was for somebody who dropped out and did a boot camp, how long it took you to get a job, and just what that process was like when you were interviewing.
Yeah. So I think, a lot of, like, everyone's experience is going to be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
You could say some things I had going for myself is, I had already taken some classes in Brooklyn College, already built some projects, and already had the startup experience.
Mm.
So I had all of that stuff on my resume that helped me out.
I love the low key
And
flex. Very humble bragging.
if someone doesn't have that, then
That'd be a
like
different
it's
experience. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So then applied for a couple of different companies. Well, actually, App Academy's policies, you have to apply to 40 companies per week, 40 applications. So I don't think I did a lot more than 40, but just doing that and trying to at least refine 10 applications, writing a cover letter, trying to tweak the resume for that job, kind of landed me a job 5 months later. And so this 5 months of doing 40 applications every week, it's like it kind of is like a full-time job. I think someone described it best, that a job search is like having a full-time job. It's like you have to spend a lot of effort, a lot of time trying to prepare yourself and trying to up your skills as much as possible. So yeah. I think some things you can do for during the job search process is try to contribute to open source projects, try to have some projects on your resume, try to have
Mm-hmm.
some kind of real world experience. If even if you get like a freelance gig, that looks pretty good on the resume.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
I mean, even with, like your pretty well polished experience, you had a lot of experience going for you. You passed the boot camp and you're doing 40 applications a week, you know, for 5 months. I mean, that's a long time to be applying. Did it ever get, a little hard? Do you think it ever was, I don't know, discouraging?
yeah, so I think that happens to a lot of people, and no exception here. Near the end of it, it was very discouraging, and like I was probably at my lowest point in terms of, like, when is this gonna happen? Like, I've been trying for so long.
Yeah.
And I think the number one rule of, like, job searching is like, one problem you have is you don't have a really adequate way of assessing your progress. Like, how well are you versus when you have some pointers, how well you're doing in your interview, but the whole part that is companies evaluation and how they're considering employees, you don't really know any of that. So you're kind of working in a little bit from the dark from that perspective. And I think the most important thing is to just keep on going at it, just keep on persevering. And that's probably the most important quality in being able to get a job.
Mm. Nonetheless, that was a lot of applications, right? Like, what did you do to like track all of them? 40 a week is quite a staggering number.
Yeah, so App Academy actually has like an internal tool for after you're done with their program, you're in the job search curriculum, and within that you have to sort of like put all of the different data around job searching in their internal tool. Stuff like what are you doing to study for for the interview, what kind of stuff are you looking into, how was your in-person interview like, how was your phone interview like,
Let
etc.
me see.
So
How many like in-person interview did you get until you landed at Wayfair?
uh, probably around 7 or 8.
7 or 8. Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
A question I've been getting a lot lately. I've been talking to more students, just making like an effort to mentor others, especially the ones like college students trying to break into the industry, since it's kind of all I can help with. um, One thing I get asked a lot is how many lead code questions did you do?
Yeah.
So
So
I'll pass that on to you.
yeah, so I think, I mean, lead code is like, one of those things, like, I don't know if you should have like a set limit, like, a 200 lead code question, that's my target. If that works for you, go for it. But, it's
200 in total?
yeah, like, however many,
Yeah.
you have set for yourself, right? So like, if that works for you, go for it. But I think the most important thing around lead code is to, like, consistently be doing those problems, right? And trying to understand what's actually going on, right? It's not just that you're solving the problem. Trying to understand some of those problems can take a while, and so the more important thing is that you actually understand, what happened, how you solved it. And if that means you need to take your time, then, I think that's more important than trying to solve as many as possible.
I think we're almost at an hour, so I want to get this question in, which is you just picked up and moved everything to a new state right after your boot camp and the interviewing process. And a lot of students are, and you started working during COVID. A lot of people are gonna be in those same situations where they have to move to a completely new state. What helped you adjust, and do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, so I to be totally honest, like, because of the pandemic, I would not recommend anyone to just like get up and move to a different state unless you know people there. Try to like do work from home or something. Try to stay around the people, around your community, because like, cultivating a new community can be very difficult. Recently, one of my coworkers mentioned that the only friends he has is work people, and the people he works with, and he's been here for 4 years. He moved from Canada.
Aw,
Yeah, so
you want a friend? It's hard out there.
yeah, for sure. So I mean, like, you can involve yourself in activities, like anything that you're doing consistently, even if you're volunteering or something, or even if you're kind of doing some part-time thing, and you get to interact with some other people. That's another way to build connections. But like work, like college, if you're not interacting with those people at with some level of consistency, right? It's kind of hard to like build new connections, right?
Do you think
So,
that applies to you as well? Do you feel lonely over at Boston?
oh well, I didn't think we were gonna get this serious in this
Hey,
podcast.
man.
Sam just went straight into it.
Sounds kind of applicable to you.
Reveal us your soul.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I am gonna be in Boston after my lease ends over here. I kind of want to move back to New York, where all my friends are.
Right.
So yeah,
So, what helped you find community in Boston?
I don't have a community.
You're still struggling? No, I get that. It's fair. That's fair. I've been noticing, like, for myself, with COVID and just the pandemic, like, we've been taking it, I guess, pretty seriously. And because we have, like, I guess, okay, it's just too much information for YouTube. Anyway, we've been taking it seriously for whatever reasons. And I used to be an introverted person. I used to love being home every weekend. At any moment I can get to myself, like with my headphones on and avoid people, I would. And the pandemic has made me like miss human beings on like a spiritual level. I feel like such an extroverted person now, and I'm always excited to see people. And it made me realize, like the importance of connecting to other human beings.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I took it for granted too for a long time. I feel like I kind of regretted sort of not cultivating more closer friendships, and yeah,
Yeah.
because like it's not like there was any lack of opportunity. It's just you kind of take it for granted. You're just moving through life. You just think, yeah, that's something that's just gonna come. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Look at us growing mature and stuff.
Yeah,
And
it actually is kind of crazy, like a little surreal, right?
valuing people.
Yeah.
Oh man. Just a few days ago we were all bowling,
Right.
Here we are. Virtual podcast, all in the tech field now.
Quite the turn of
Okay,
event.
well,
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop interrupting y'all.
Sorry, we need to like just increase our telepathy.
Yes, we'll work on that.
Well, I was just gonna ask if you have any advice for the Omar just about to embark on your journey with, just starting from just dropping out or even the startup.
Yeah. If I had, are you asking if I had any advice for my past self, for someone who's just starting college or
Yeah.
something like that? You know,
Yeah.
if I had to give myself some advice, I'd say, like, have a lot more grit, have a lot more, what do you call it, experiences, and try to expose yourself to a whole, to as many different things as possible. Value serendipity, and that, I think, really builds your character. And I said this before too. I think, in your when especially in college, it's very important to expose yourself to a wide array of experiences, whether it be, the things that you're trying to study or life experiences, because that's, like, I think, for a lot of people, the first time that they're moving out, that they're living by themselves, that they're, marking, on the onset of adulthood. And so, I think that's probably the proper way to start about it, because those are character building stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely had the grit and you definitely had the new adventure experiences. And yeah, I'm excited for the next few adventures to come, Omar, especially back in New York.
Yeah, maybe we can have some adventures together.
Bowling time,
Yeah.
bowling part
Yeah,
two.
I was thinking.
I'll kick your butts again, of course.
You could finally try to beat me again, Shizota, but only in your dreams.
What do you mean? I like crushed you.
Totally. In your dreams
My
again.
12-year-old brother crushed you.
I'll give him that, but not you.
He was
He did crush me.
Okay.
he was a natural. He was just too good.
He was a protege. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. He actually wants to be a co-host, by the way, too. Everyone's gunning for the co-host position, Sam. You have stiff competition.
Wow, I have to do better. Yeah, I gotta up my game.
Okay, well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you boys, and that's a wrap.
Well, it's a pleasure chatting with you all, and thanks for having me.
And that was the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I'm so interested in hearing what your feedback is, what you enjoyed and what you didn't enjoy. You can do that in the comments or in my inbox, my mail, email, contact information in the description. Join our Discord server, add yourself to the mailing list, and stay awesome. Bye.